Alright, welcome back again everyone. Today I'm going to be changing speeds again, taking a look at the Fenix HL26R. It's labeled as a rechargeable trail running headlamp, as you can see there. And we'll just get the box out of the way now. And there you go, you can see it says burst mode of 450 lumens. That's your maximum output for this light. It came with a decent sized USB cord. USB-A to micro USB cord, the cord length, so from cord to cord, plug to plug on the inside, it's 30 inches. It was right at 2.5 feet there. So this light is it is very lightweight, I'll say that. It's also very comfortable to wear, and I noted some other people in reviews that I read, Amazon and on the Fenix site, said that it was very comfortable, and they're right, it is very comfortable. And it also noted that it stays in place very well with a shiny part here. If you can see that, it almost looks like rubber cement, but it's not coming off. I think you really have to put some effort into getting that off of there. It seemed like to me at first that would make it hot, like a little bit hotter to wear, and maybe it'd get slimy or something, but it really didn't. It helped keep the light in place, and you can see it goes from all the way from there to there. I guess I got a little bit off center. But up against your bare skin or places where you don't have a whole lot of hair on your head, it's really going to help. So if you're shaved head or bald, you probably won't have any problem with it staying in place. It's also very easy to adjust. So if you want to make it smaller, it's a little bit more difficult if you have it on, but it's still easy to adjust. That makes it smaller. You got this double part here. Pull that part and then pull it through that way. So I'll make it smaller, but then to make it bigger, you can do this very easily while you're on. And the reason that matters to me is, I'm sure I'm not the only one. If I'm wearing something on my head, headphones, over-the-head type headphones, or bands or anything, pretty much anything other than a regular ball cap, it starts hurting my head after a while. And it doesn't matter how tight or loose it is, I just need to be able to change the size of it or take it off or something, because it starts driving me crazy after a while. So I thought that was a nice feature. Now it's also rechargeable. They say it's rated to IP66, so it is not submersible, but it should resist sweat with no problem. They do specifically note in the instructions that it is rated 6.6 with the USB port covered. And this actually does a good job. It's not real loose like some of the Fenix flashlights I had. It was kind of loose. And see that little nubbin there? That actually goes down into the plug area there. So it keeps it in very securely. That is micro USB rechargeable. And since I've got the cable out, got my little battery pack here. And let's see if it'll recharge off of my older battery pack that's got slightly less output. I don't think I tried it off of the battery pack. Oh, yeah. There we go, we got blue lights, it's charging. So it's at 3 now. I believe that's 60 to 80%. And better close that before we forget. Don't want to lose our super secret 6.6 rating there. Alright, so it's press the 2 top button. Oh, it went over 80%, just that little bit of charge. So to check the battery level, you have these 2 buttons here. This one is also controls the flood, but you push that, and now I'll give your battery level. It was down to 3 before I put the charger in. And then that also controls the floods. So the flood starts out low, and then it goes up to high. The flood always starts out low, then there's your SOS. And then you can turn it off that way. And the other button is your spot, which you hold down for half a second. Now this one has mode memory, low, medium, high, and then your burst, you hold the button down, and notice the light turned off. That's 450 lumens there. Notice the light turned off when you did that, so you have to cycle through when it's on to get through low, medium, high, but you sort of have direct access to your burst all the time. Hold it down so it goes back to your last mode memorized, but then it does immediately go to the burst mode there. I use this for work mostly. I had used it, I was trying it out, and I did use the spot a bit, but I ended up using the floodlight more. It's on the high, it's actually plenty bright enough for what I was doing, but you know, I wasn't running on a trail. So it was plenty bright enough for doing up close work and seeing out to, I'd say about 20 feet. You could see good enough if it was actually dark around you. And I really like that. So I checked before I came on, and this is running about $50 on Amazon right now and from Fenix. And it's a good product, but if you don't need something lightweight and you would like something that does have a little bit more bells and whistles, there are other products that are close in price that will be able to do a little bit more, maybe have a wider selection of modes, go a little bit further, although this did go pretty far out. Phoenix is saying that your burst mode will go 100 meters. It's a little generous, but it goes out pretty far still. I mean, it's going to technically hit 100 yards, but I guess if you're in a completely dark area trail running, it would still be usable. But aside from that, past 100 yards, it's really not going to be usable at all. But they say it does rotate a little bit, 60 degrees inside your head, so that's obviously, if this flat part is your head, that's looking almost straight down for the most part. If you're running, I would think you don't want it down that low, but for when you're setting up camp or, you know, trying to fidget with stuff in your bag, that might be a little more useful that way. I really like this little thing. I'm going to end up not keeping it. I tried out a few other headlamps, and I found two that I'm happy with, and the rest of them I'm going to go ahead and sell off. And I've got one other one that was super cheap, but it works well enough. I'm going to go ahead and keep that, and that'll be a gimme if I'm out with somebody and they need a light of some kind. That'll be the one that I give to them. Alright, so because the way this works, it's got the little floods and the spot, I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the modes, and I'll do a bounce off of my ceiling and give you some pictures of that, and then I'll take it into a little half bathroom that I have so you can see how well the floodlight works. So here you can see that it's the floodlights. It's a little more obvious, and I don't know why I keep doing that. Sorry about that. You can see it's a little more obvious. There's one on each side of the light, and then the spot is obviously the one in the center. You cannot turn both on at the same time. I haven't found a way to do it, and it mentions in the instructions that you can't do it, but I don't think you really need it. So on the plus side, some of the other brands out there, they say they have 350, 400 lumens turbo, but they're combining, you know, it's lumens, so it's the light output, it's not really how intense it is. So they're counting their spot and their area light, their floodlights together, and that's how they're getting their higher output. And some of those are still pretty good lights, but it's a little misleading. One thing I did find was once I got to know the light a little better, it wasn't as much of a problem, but with it straight up, it was a little difficult to get to the buttons. So I mean, you've got less button and it's fine with bare hands, but I was wearing bulky work gloves. So if you got the touch gloves that have the finger that you could still use a touch smartphone on, maybe it won't be as big of a problem. But even just one click out and that problem disappears. That was the closest thing I found to an actual issue with the light. It's pretty close to perfect except for that $50 price point, but it is a quality product, and if you're doing a lot of trail running, having something this light that's rechargeable that will run off a USB battery pack, it might be beneficial to you. Of course, that does take away the ability to throw new batteries in if this light does die. I guess that's one potential downside, but for the most part, I mean, the run times are so long that I wouldn't really worry about it. I'm talking the high mode is 130 lumens, and they're saying about 6 hours of run time. But I can tell you from my own time testing that starting it with burst, and I did burst a couple of times, but at 4 hours and 45 minutes it started to dim, and I don't recall exactly when it went out, but that's a long time, and that's at the starting and burst and going down to high. So according to Fenix, the medium is 70 lumens, and that goes down to 12 hours, and then the 30 lumen low, and this is spotlight, 30 lumen low is 25 hours, and 30 lumens might actually be good enough for a lot of people depending on how dark the area you're in is. But even 70 lumens, 12 hours, are you really going to be running for more than 12 hours? I know that there are people that do it, but do most people do it? Are you going to do it? And then if you can get away with using the floodlight, that high was 40 lumens, and they're saying 13 hours, and then 4 lumens for the low at 100 hours. If you're running, I would maybe a slow casual hike. The lower setting on the flood would be good enough, but if I were running, I think I would want the higher setting if I'm going to use the spotlight, so I'd go with that timer there. Overall, it's a good solid product. I didn't try and throw it around a whole lot. I'm sure it'll take a little bit of a beating. It does feel, for being the lightweight plastic material it does feel pretty solid. But this isn't some hard-use military thing. I did wear it to the gym because I don't really run or trail hike anymore. And so walking, I guess you could call it a flat trail, dirt and rock, it's a quarter to a half mile to get to the gym. And then I decided to just be a big dork, and I kept wearing it throughout my workout. And it survived through that. It didn't shift much at all while I was doing a regular workout. Then I got on a treadmill walking, varying speed, did a little bit of incline, and it held in place really well. I did move it around a little bit, but that was more for me for comfort, but not because the light itself was uncomfortable. It's more because of what I said before. Things just get uncomfortable if I have to wear it on my head, over my head, around my head for a long period of time. That's just something with me, but it did stay in place very well on its own even once I started sweating. So I wasn't doing a hard sprint run, but I was varying my pace up to about 3.5 miles an hour. So not real fast, but getting it done. And yeah, I think that's all I got for you on this one. So if you want something lightweight that will hold up and it will be sweat resistant, has a noted comfortable band, and is very adjustable. There's the about the biggest size, but it's an elastic band, so it'll stretch out pretty far there. So if you get a pretty big noggin, it'll fit around that too, probably. I actually wore this around a hard hat and it stayed in place, so you should be fine even if you get a ginormous head. Alright guys, that's all I got for you on this one. Thanks for checking it out, and remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you got any questions, shoot them over to me and I'll get to them as soon as I can. First, we'll go through the spots real quick, and so there's your low, but you can see the spot. It's got a bit of spill. This camera is not doing fantastic with the low light, with the combination of low and highlight. And there's your medium and high, and holding it down to get the burst. Yeah, much better light. You can see right there, that's an air vent. It's 12 to 15 feet away, and that's the base of the ceiling fan there. And we'll put that back down low. Now for the floodlights, ooh, finger puppets. For the floodlights, there's the low looking at the same spot. So not super bright, but you can see again if that's 12 to 15 feet away and that's the low, that's not too bad. It's actually much more even in real life, including on the bottom. It looks pretty dark right here on the camera display. Hopefully it looks better on a decent PC monitor or cell phone. And then there's the high, which I could probably, the wall that's behind that ceiling fan, I could probably read an eye chart, maybe not the 2020 line, but 1 to 2 up from it. That's enough light that I could read that, so that's right at about 20 feet there. So that's a pretty good amount of light. And your SOS is just kind of it's what it is. So There we go.